All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Are the Niners actually going to add Jamal Adams? We'll talk a little bit about that, the pros and the cons of that coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're open in two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. The food is amazing. You're going to love it. Go get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you and the Krug Show sent you. And, of course, this video is also brought to you by Marin Autoglass, marinautoglass.com on the web, a great company, and thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Well, the draft has come and gone, and that means all the heavy lifting, for the most part, is done on putting together the roster for the upcoming season. The Niners have a real good idea of what they're going to be across the board. Now, there's still always some tinkering, right? You've got the rest of April, May, June, and right up until training camp to continue adding players, and teams add players sometimes in August as well. And then there's the cut down, and you may add a couple more players right before the cut down in early September before Labor Day. So even though many of the NFL people take their vacations between late May and training camp, the personnel side is still working guys out. They're still talking. The general manager's job is never done. He's always looking for new additions, new players, and guys that can add to the roster. Now, a guy named Bob Condata of the Seattle Times is reporting that the Seahawks remain interested in re-signing their free agent safety, Jamal Adams, who they traded a mint to get a few years back. But the Niners are interested as well. They're one of the teams that's interested. The quote was, sources say the 49ers are among other teams who have kept in touch with Adams. So the Seahawks could have some competition for their former all-pro safety, who's not old. You know, you say Jamal Adams, you think maybe he's 31 or something like that. No, he's 28. So he's still a relatively young man. Now, the Jets drafted him, blue chipper, right, coming out of LSU. He's 6'1". He's that combo. He's like a kind of a big safety, undersized, weak side backer. And they drafted him. He's 6'1", about 215 pounds. They drafted him out of LSU in the 2017 draft with the 6th overall pick in the draft. And he had 48 tackles, 7 for loss, 2 quarterback hits, 2 passes defensed in 9 starts with the Seahawks last season. And he played 84% of the defensive snaps. So that's not great, but it's not terrible. 48 tackles, 7 for loss, 2 hits on the quarterback. I like him as a player, but he's not he's not really a safety. I think he's more like a delayed blitzer as a linebacker, and I think he's really good at what he does. Now, the Niners drafted a safety in this last draft, one of my favorite players, in fact, Malik Mustafa, who played at Wake Forest, and they grabbed him in the 4th round. And Mustafa was quoted as saying, man, I'm a downhill speed, tenacity ball player that plays with a lot of fire. Yeah, he is. I mean, this guy is just a crusher in the run game, and he's hyperactive, and he can play in a bunch of different schemes. He goes on to say, Mustafa, I'm able to line up pretty much everywhere. Just watching the film, I'm able to impact the game on all levels of the football. I'm pretty sure the 49ers have a plan for me. I really feel comfortable in a lot of spots, being able to show that versatility during my time at Wake Forest. So, yeah, Mustafa is nice because he hits like a strong safety and he covers like a free safety. So, I don't know what he was doing in the 4th round. To me, he was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. He was very productive, very athletic, and the film don't lie, you know. It really doesn't. I mean, he, as he says, this guy comes downhill, fills the alley, and will starch you. I mean, this guy will hit you. I can see why John Lynch drafted this player. John Lynch was an incredibly physical, hardworking, physical, athletic, hardworking safety who was smart and would hit the crap out of you. And Mustafa, in a lot of ways, is the same way. But you could also play him in the cover 3 in the deep middle and have him cover the deep part of the field. Now, back to Adams. Do the Niners want Jamal Adams? He's recorded 494 tackles in his career, 50 for loss, 42 hits on the quarterback, 21 and a half sacks, 36 passes defense, 4 picks, a touchdown, 7 forced fumbles, and 80 starts through 7 NFL seasons. He doesn't, Jamal Adams is interesting. Greg Cosell, I think, in a conversation a few years ago, you could tell that Greg, who watches a lot of film, feels that Adams is overrated. Now, I don't want to put words in Greg's mouth, but that's pretty much what he said. He doesn't. Adams is not that free safety who can cover the field in a cover 3 zone, and he's not a great man-to-man coverage player either. So he's a box safety. He's a box safety. And even then, he's much more, to me, all of his ability is about going forward. He's great going forward. He'll see an opening and, be a delayed blitzer, shoot a gap, and sack the quarterback. When the Niners played Seattle, it always seemed like Adams was around the ball, but he's definitely a short and intermediate kind of a guy, and a guy who plays better going forward than going backward. This is not a coverage player of note. He's not going to backpedal and drop into coverage and be a real force against the pass. What he's going to do is he's going to lurk up on the line of scrimmage and fire through a gap and sack the quarterback, or fire through a gap and hit the running back for a loss. So he's earned first-team All-Pro selection. He's had 2 second-team All-Pro honors. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. So we're talking about a player who's pretty accomplished, but he's very unique in that he's not a free safety. He's not going to cover anybody down the field. He's just not a coverage player of note in any kind. He's like an extra linebacker. And I'm not sure what the Niners, see in Jamal Adams. Maybe they see Jamal Adams as an undersized linebacker replacement for Dre Greenlaw, because there's no question that he does play the run well. He is physical and strong at the point of attack. I could see him playing as a stacked backer in the Niners front. They're wide 9 with the 2 stacked backers, and maybe Warner's one of them. Maybe Devondre Campbell is, but maybe in certain situations, maybe they got Campbell on 1st and 2nd down and they play Adams on 3rd down as a linebacker. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, he can defend the short zone, the short intermediate area, hook to flat area. I mean, he's not going to defend down the field at all. And he's not that kind of a player. But maybe the Niners see him as a stacked backer, as a weak side backer. Maybe the Niners see him as an option at strong safety. The one thing about the 49ers safety situation is they've got Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga. Hufanga's coming off a major injury, and he's been hurt a lot, and there's not a lot of depth at safety for the Niners. I mean, think about what they have right now. They've got Jair Brown, who I think is a terrific player, Hufanga coming off an ACL. Then their 3rd safety will now be Malik Mustafa, the rookie from Wake Forest, who I really, really love. I think is going to be a terrific player. So I feel better about safety now they have Mustafa. They have Bernardo Green. If they have too many corners, they could always move Bernardo Green to free safety. They have him there. And then they've got George Odom, who's an all-pro special team player. And then after that, it's pretty much, Eric Harris, who was a street free agent, Taylor Hawkins, who I do like a lot. He played corner at San Diego State, and I think he could do the job, but he's to this point been a practice squad guy. So they don't have a lot of bodies at safety. And Adams is unique, but is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? What exactly is Jamal Adams at this point? I don't know, but that's interesting just because he's been so productive and he's such a physical player and he's a presence. Let's say that as well for Jamal Adams in the plus category. The guy, what he lacks in coverage ability, the guy more than makes up for in physicality and presence. He has tremendous presence out there because he's had a lot of success. He's been an all-pro football player. I'd be interested. not at a big price. But if Jamal Adams, if they have interest in Jamal Adams, one, I'd love to know what their plan is. Are they going to use him as at safety in a certain role at strong safety in the box? They're not going to use him down the field in coverage, but maybe they're going to use him at linebacker. Maybe the idea is to replace Dre Greenlaw with Jamal Adams, at least partially, at least have another body there who potentially could slide into Greenlaw's spot. I think that's kind of where Adams game is trending right now. It's trending towards him playing linebacker. So his days of playing any kind of coverage have come and gone. But maybe he's got a year or two as a, kind of a combo safety / stack backer. So anyway, it's an interesting name. It's an interesting name. I'd love to know what their plan is. I'd love to know how he worked out. If he did work out, he probably didn't. I'd love to know what kind of price tag they're going to pay on him. I don't think he's worth a big price tag at this point. I think he's a big name guy. It would be nice to take him away from Seattle because he is one of Seattle's defensive leaders. But he's a very unique player that has to be utilized in the right way to have success. And maybe the Niners with Sorensen as the new coordinator and Brandon Staley as the new defensive czar, kind of above him in some capacity. Maybe they have a really good idea for how they want to use Jamal Adams. I'd love to see him in Niner camp if it wasn't for big money. So I'm not a big fan of giving him any money. I'm not a big fan of depending on him as a coverage safety in any way, in any capacity. But if you like him at strong safety, if you like him as a stack backer and the price is right, there you go. Maybe it makes sense. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. Check them out. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.